gonna be. Okay, for the middle of May. All right. So you really look good from the outside, but what bothers you is how you're feeling on the inside, especially because of who you are. What am I talking about? You have success, external success, that you have come by very, very honestly with a great deal of thinking and hard work and study and working on yourself. And yet, that external success, there is one thing off in your business. There's some piece that really bothers you. It's different for each woman. But it often has to do with reaching the next level of income, but it could have to do with team. It could have to do with a lot of things. But there's one thing that really is troubling you. And from the outside, people see what you've done and they see it as proof of what a great leader you are, what a great entrepreneur you are, how successful you are. That's what they see, but that is not at all what you're feeling inside. It feels like by this point that should exist in your business. There are things that should be existing in your business that aren't. And that just doesn't, it isn't making sense to you. The people around you, they think that it's easy. They have no idea how much energy it takes for you to maintain what's going on and still not feel so great about it. You look like you figured it out, and on many levels you have. You've done the work. You haven't shied away from addressing problems and actually solving them and going to the next level of excellence, which is really important to you. So it just doesn't make sense why this one area for you isn't working as well as you thought it would. So this is what you experience as a gap between what you are looking like on the outside, what it seems like you have, what the business really should and could be doing according to you, and what it is the actual truth of it. So this gap is what feels so bad. Feels so bad. It doesn't feel like this is something that you deserve. And it's certainly not something you deserve based on all the work that you've done, right? So you've up leveled in so many ways and you've absolutely invested in yourself. My goodness, masterminds and long, week-long intensives and workshops and books and study and degrees. And yet how could this still be? It's so, so perplexing with the real effort you've put in and with your intelligence. And it hurts. Some of the worst part is that you're disappointed in yourself. And you know that. And it's not something you talk about a lot, if at all, out loud to other people. It's not like you're hiding it. It's just that to really have this conversation would take a lot of energy and a lot of explaining, and it would have to be with the really right person. And there's just so much to it, and you're not at the point where you just it, it's not something that you do. It's not something that you share. Mostly you've been shouldering this by yourself, right? Mostly. So the problem is that it takes a toll, and it takes a toll on some places that really bother you, like your face, your body, your energy, how you come across to the people you love when it's in the evening and you have nothing left. That's the toll that it takes, and it really bothers you. You're not that person, and yet it's how you've been being. And one of the worst tolls is that you've had an unshakable belief in yourself for a really long time. And that unshakable belief, you're noticing some cracks and Wow, you can't lose that. You don't want to lose that. It's precious to you, and it's what's kept you going. Now, these are not flaws in you, and it is not predictive of where you can go from here. Absolutely not. And I know this after working with people for 45 years, more than 8,000 women and people. So the problem is that the way you're pointing, what you're working to solve, is pointed in the wrong direction. So you're working towards solutions that will not fix this problem. So you need it's a different problem. And therefore, there's actually different solutions. But as long as you're pointing at the problems the way you've been pointing at fixing the problems you've been fixing, then those solutions aren't taking you there, right? If they were taking you there, you would already solve this and you would have stopped listening to this a long time ago. So it's also what's going on with you, the fact that it's been so long, it's also a sign that you've been using the wrong fix. It's a sign. So, how do we close the gap between what you're experiencing and what can actually happen for you? By changing the direction that you're pointed at in terms of what the actual problem is and looking at something completely different. To have the willingness and the courage to see something and know something that you haven't known yet, that you haven't seen yet. Well, and what can happen when you start to do that? Well, for example, I'll talk about one woman. She has been in her health business for about 20, 25 years, and she was working really hard. Her patients loved her, and she had wonderful, wonderful energy. But it was just taking a massive toll on how she felt about herself, about life, on the energy that she had in her life, on her significant other and her relationship with her intimate partner. She just was doing it all, and she was really burnt out. And it was hard to break through her income ceiling with that kind of low energy, despite the fact that she was such a high energy woman. So when she was willing and able to look in a different direction to solve the problem, because she tried so many things. She was very, very smart and thoughtful and reflective, self-reflective. So when she looked in a different direction and she really could experience the problem from a completely different angle and really, really see how everything that she'd been doing to fix was just not, just absolutely not addressing it clearly because nothing was really changing. So when that happened, one of the first things that happened was, well, at the same time, she was taking care of her dying mother. She was a main caretaker. And she said she had her best month ever while she was the sole caretaker, the primary caretaker for her dying mother. And they were able to be tender and connected. And she said, and so she was really able to attend to her mother, and she had her best month ever. And she also started having time and room and emotional strength, I guess, the space in her emotions to start reconnecting with her partner, which was so wonderful, excuse me, for both of them. Another woman who coincidentally is also in the health professions, she was leading a really, really tough team. Oh my goodness. And it really wasn't working, and she applied everything. She had all the books and the consults and the coaching and changing personnel. It just wasn't working. One of the things for her, excuse me, one of the things for her was that she didn't realize this, but she was coming to the meetings with a need for them to love her. and she didn't know this, but they could subtly feel it. And these were not people necessarily that you wanted to be able to feel that. They were taking advantage of it for sure. Not consciously, not purposely, but they sure were, and it left her being a much less, she couldn't really succeed in handling a difficult team if she was coming from a need to be loved. Now that was her particular situation inside, that something that she'd never really seen before. And so all the other fixes weren't helping. For each woman it's different. For each of us there's something that deep that we're not seeing, but we're still operating from there. And when you change the fix, when you change the way you're pointing, when you actually have the right problem so you can apply the right solution, then that pressure, that tight-fistedness, all the tight jaw, the TMJ, the difficulty sleeping, that all of that almost immediately, sometimes immediately, starts to ease, starts to soften, and the real you can come out. The real you who is able to run that business with all of you, not just the pushing and the prodding and the and the over pressured, over tight energy, which is taking the toll on you. If what I'm saying feels like it speaks to you, DM me on Instagram. There's a link here. And tell me a little bit what's going on, and let's have a conversation. Okay?